and again. Can't stay in this dead end relation, 'cause it's fading to gray. I feel everything inside me changes over and over again. Can't wait, knowing that our love is wasted, yeah, wasted. We're running blind and we don't know why. Was it really what
Okay, so it's a little bit before 4. I'm not going to get started, but I'm going to give you a chance to enter your questions in the chat. If you're on Zoom, put them in the Zoom chat. If you're on YouTube, put it in the YouTube chat. I'll be able to see both automatically, which is amazing, as long as I open that window. So, and then I can do this. So, Kat is here. I'm glad you're here. Where did my comments go? Here we go. And Betty Calvert is here. Just came from the Tigger Rug Show. Amazing work. Yeah, when you get out of your regional area and you get a chance to see a show in a different geographical area, it's amazing how different that can be. Kind of changes your whole point of view, right? So I'm going to dilly-dally here for a minute. If you were here earlier, particularly those of you on YouTube, you got to watch me playing around with the templates from my new, I'm calling it Pictorial Basics, design. So I've got a bunch of motifs. I'm going to have a bunch more before the PDF is completely finalized. I'm going to teach you how to create your own motifs, how to size them up or down so that you can make them larger or smaller. A lot of people get confused with that math, but it's a real simple process, and I'll walk you through that in the course. Right now, the course is available to members of the Rug Cooking Journey only for a pre-buy. They're buying basically an incomplete course. I will be finishing it over the course of, it looks like it's going to be the next few months, because it's going to take me a while to deliver all these lessons. I'm going to be talking about isometric drawing. I'm going to be talking about 1-point perspective, 2-point, 3-point. You don't really want to go there, but I'll talk about it and tell you why you don't want to go there. We're going to talk about, I should have my list in front of me. How to use photographs to create your landscape. I should have had that list in front of me. I don't. Okay, so I've got straight up 4 o'clock. And as luck would have it, I have 0 goose egg questions. So if you're here with me on Zoom and you have a question, simply unmute and I'd be happy to take your question. If you are on YouTube, the only way you can communicate with me is via the comments. So go ahead and add a comment, ask your question, and I will address it and make it as complete as I can. While you guys are thinking of your questions, I'm going to head over to howtorugcook.com, which is where I sell my classes. And on the very first dashboard, called the General Dashboard, is an icon with a couple big question marks on it. And that's where I collect questions, ideally questions about rug cooking. The questions I'm seeing there tend to look like they're referring to problems with the membership. So I will address those, but that's where I look. So during the month, if you have questions, because the first Monday of every month, as long as my technology hangs in there, is going to be broadcast out to YouTube and to my membership people in Zoom. So is there any questions?
I have a question. Cindy, I can't get into the new course. I can't find the little...
Oh, okay, yeah. Right now, you're going to have... Right now, what you'll have to do is... I can't remember if I put it there. If it's anywhere, it's going to be under premium courses.
No, it's not there.
It's not showing up there. then go back to your welcome email that says, congratulations, you bought, and use that link in that email.
Okay.
I just have to
All right.
code that so that the only people who can see it will be members of the Rug Cooking Journey. Because right now, that course is 50% off. So you could basically pay for your first 2, almost 3 months of the Rug Cooking Journey if you want the landscape design course by joining the Rug Cooking Journey and then using that member discount that's available exclusively to members until the course is complete. Then I will offer it to the public. It'll be at 100% at that point instead of 50%. And that's where it'll be. Part of the benefit of being a member is getting these early offers. Okay, nothing in that chat. I'm frantically checking because, like I said in the email, what is a Q&A session without that? But yeah, I need your questions. So, Steady Betty, she says, I saw you in Grapevine, time to catch you, but I couldn't leave my booth. Really wanted to meet you. Same here. Kathy, I didn't spend that much time in the exhibit area except to do my one in-depth. I think I did that on Saturday. The one in-depth once around. And I did, what was the first night? Whatever the first night was, I did a quick walkthrough, but they were basically starting to blink the lights by the time I got to the back corner. And so we were getting kicked out. So yeah, I would have loved to have met you in person. We've spent a lot of time together on Zoom. Okay. No questions. Okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to feel this time?
Question, Cindy.
Okay, thanks, Sue.
Okay, so my first question is an ocean question because I think today is also VOW.
Right.
So I was trying to upload a photo and the photo would flash and then go away. So I thought to myself, maybe I have too much space used because I had the free version and it would like me to not have so many things. So I went to delete other photos that are, projects that have been finished, and I can't delete them.
Okay. The first thing I would check, would be to check out the, hold on, I'm doing a little bit of on-the-fly adjusting. Check out the size of that particular image. Okay. If it's, and I can't remember what, but a quick, free account, Notion, image size would give you what you are limited on the free account per photo. So if that photo is too big, it won't go. There may also be some kind of a monthly limit or something along that line. I don't know. I went to a paid version almost immediately. Thank God I did, because they honor your price. So as the price has gone up, and the price has at least doubled, I expect it to go probably even higher because they're adding AI and all kinds of stuff. So if you're not paying for it, you might want to join, but that's an individual decision. What I look at it as is another way to save my photos. So I'm putting like the progress photos. You're using it for my program called VOW, which is Virtual Online Workshop. And that's my way of getting around if you're using just the camera built in to your device. Unless it's a brand new device, it might not have the best quality camera. And when you hold it up, I can't quite see it. It pixelates and the colors are funny. So we put it into Notion, and then that way I can share it, and it gives us the best look at color. And you don't have to sit there for 4 or 5 minutes with your arms up in the air holding onto your rug. So that's the most important part. But I also use Notion, and this is free in the Rug Cooking Journey membership, is a template called Notion Art Catalog. What that is a way of you entering your projects. They can be rug cooking, it could be sculpture, it could be quilting, it could be landscaping, it can be whatever you want. That's why I made it a little bit more generic and called it the Notion Art Catalog. And you can put your images in there that way. So if you're unsure about it, one way to get around the photo requirement in Notion is to buy a paid version. And you don't need the top layer. I don't use the top layer. I'm using a lower layer. And it did say that I'm running out of people to share with. There is a limit on my tier on how many people I can share with. So what I'll be doing is people who were like in VOW in 2022 who haven't come back, I'll be deleting their pages so I can make room for a new person to share. But that's really the only other constraint I've run into. Notion in general is great from any kind of visual collection system, which is what the Notion Art Catalog is, right? It's collecting a picture of your pattern before you start hooking. It's collecting, I don't know, whatever you want to put in there, maybe pictures of the wool you plan on using. You never know when you stop a project. That gives you a way to pick up that thread and figure out where you were, okay? I wish I had done that with my son's stovetop. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's still sitting here from the other day. This is a template of my son's wood burner. And he wants a picture of his cabin the way it looked when he bought it, which is fallen down scary, is the only way I can describe it, in a fall scene so that he can take this hooked rug and put it on top of his wood stove in the summertime, right? So it protects the top. He got some fancy enameled stove from Italy or something. I don't remember exactly what the details were, but he wants to protect his baby, right? He lives in basically what is a tiny house. But it's an old house that he's completely rebuilt on the old footprint. And so it wasn't built as the new fad tiny houses. It's just a small home that he is now living in and doing 100% of the remodeling all by himself. So,
So Cindy, how do you delete the photos?
how do you delete the photos? You click on it, and if you're on a keyboard, you can hit delete. I'm not sure because I don't use Notion on my phone. I can't see it.
Okay.
It's too small, but there should be some vehicle or device that will.
I played with it for like 20 minutes and couldn't find it.
Oh no! Oh no! Okay.
Yeah, seriously. But that's okay. I'll just keep trying to figure it out. I also, now when we're on the VOW Notion page, that's your Notion, right?
It's in my Notion, but it's shared with you.
Okay.
Okay. So what you put on it, I see in real time. That's the beauty of it. So even if during the class someone says, oh, I've got a question, but I haven't uploaded yet, they can upload, and the second it's done, it's available to me. You know, it's not like emailing me a picture, opening email. There's not all those extra steps. Now, it doesn't alert me that you added more stuff to it. So you still have to call my attention to it during VOW so we can talk about it. But that's good.
Well, maybe it's a permission thing. Maybe I don't have maybe because it's your page. But I was able to delete text, so that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you should be able. There should be a way. Yeah, look, highlight it. You'll definitely have to do that. I get apps mixed up. Does that one have the 6 dots in front of it?
it's got 3 dots to one side, but that just gives you all of it gives you a plus sign in front of it, and then I can't remember what that other thing was, but neither one of them had the option of deleting on it. So I'll just keep playing with it.
Keep playing with it, and if I get a chance between now and VOW, I will. I'll have that answer for you when we meet at 5:30.
I know, I didn't mean it to be a tough one.
Really? Well,
So does it say remove?
Nope.
I was thinking on mine, there was a remove.
I'll look again and see, maybe.
yeah, look all the way around it to see if there's any kind of menu that pops up once you click on it.
Yeah.
Because I know you can delete. I mean, you definitely can do it. Notion is definitely easier on a computer. I think it has to be a big screen monitor, but that's because of my janky eyes, which are healthy. I went to the eye doctor today. He said they're healthy. I just need a new prescription because they've changed again. So that said, I am scrolling desperately for questions. So if you're on YouTube, put it into the YouTube chat. I'll be able to see it there. If you are on Zoom, you can simply unmute like usual during office hours. Office hours is something that I hold every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And it's a place where at least once a week, you've got a rug cooking teacher who you can ask anything, who can help you get out of somewhere you're stuck. And that stuck might be something as simple as, I've hooked this, but I don't know what to do next. It can be as simple as that to, I need help designing something. What are your tips on designing? To color planning, to dye recipes, whatever it is you need to ask me, you can ask me as a member of the Rug Cooking Journey every single Tuesday. And I'll be doing these Q&As once a month. I've done them before. I was traveling in August and September, so I kind of fell off the wagon. But I'm committed to doing them once a month. But I do need your help with questions. So if you have a rug cooking question, I would love to hear it. If not, what can I teach? There's got to be something sitting there.
I got another one.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Hey, I'll take it.
So I've found that working with the larger cuts, that it's more of a challenge to fill in small spaces.
Yeah.
And I just wondered if you had any tips on how you do that.
I do. Let me switch over to my down camera. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to tell you something that you should not do. And what you should not do is cut a smaller strip and put it in there because it looks so different, right? So you don't want, a forecut showing up. So a lot of it's pre-planning. So let's do like a weird shape that always seems to get us into trouble. I tend to start in the skinny areas. Okay, so in a shape like this, I would start here with a tail and then work my way up with the loops. Bear with me while I get all these drawn in. So this is meant to be, the way I'm drawing them, they're bigger than a number 8, but you kind of get the idea. So here's where then it's like, okay, now which way do I go? I always try to equalize. So when I'm filling in a space, particular with bigger cuts, you need to bounce back and forth, right? So I don't want to go up and do another row unless there's something specific that tells me I should go that way. Okay? And right now, I don't even know what this is. Does it look like a hill maybe? So maybe a hill you could do that way, but let's just consider this a shape of some sort, right? So what I'm going to do then is just start hooking on this idea of going back and forth. I'm going to hook all the way across the bottom. turning a loop there to make it fit, and then coming up here. And what I'm going to try to do is try to encourage both ends to meet in the middle, which may work, may not work. It kind of depends. So a lot of times to do that, I'll do something like this and then back up and put one right there. Okay? Then come back over and put one and do some more down this way. So now what I've done is I've evened out the difference between the two shapes. And so now I'm going to come here, and I know that another row of rug hooking will not fit in there. So what I'm going to do is put a loop in wherever it fits. But I don't want to create a pattern. So I'm going to come up here and put in a couple loops this way, and then one over here, and then maybe come down, do this. I think I got room for one there, and then my tail. So it's all about sort of pre-planning on where you're going, right? You have to think about that more. If this was a 3 or 4 cut or with yarn, which Sue, I know that's what you're used to using is your yarn, you just go at it any old which way because the pattern that is set up by your loops doesn't matter, right? Because a 3 or a 4 looks like this, right? They look like circles. So you can't tell what direction they were hooked. But when you start getting into big cuts, particularly up to 8.5 and 9, they're going to line up in a certain way. And you have to decide how you want them to line up. So a lot of times what I'll do, particularly if I'm blending colors, and I've got a shape like this, I'll come through and I'll do something like this. What I'm doing is trying to confuse the eye. I'm trying to break this up, make it less of a row. Plus, if I've got some things sticking out like this, when I come back with the next color, they're going to blend a little bit better, right? So when I come back like this, these colors are going to blend because if this is, say, value 6 and this is value 5, then what I have here is really 5.5 because it's blended with a little bit of the 6 and a little bit of the 5. And that takes time and attention to detail. It's a kind of thinking that you have to do with wide cuts that you don't have to do with smaller cuts because they're just plain circles. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's a dilemma. And a lot of times what I'll do is if I find myself getting worked into a corner, it's like, oh, I should have put a couple of loops in there. I'll just back out a few loops, fix that, get those extra loops up there to fill in the space, and then come back with what I'm hooking. And that seems to work out really, really good. Okay. So I have a question from Kathy. She says, what is your favorite cutting machine? Okay, so mine is probably the favorite of a lot of people, okay? I have a Townsend cutter. It's an original Townsend. They're now the same design, but they're made by, help me out, guys, They're made by Beeline. Beeline Art Machines is what they officially called it when they launched it. I'm not sure what they call it now. But what's nice about it, the guys look at this and go, oh my God, that's a work of art. Okay, because, let me get this. This is the cutter cartridge. And what I like about it, it's a little hard when it's not connected to a table, but you simply take the cutter cartridge and you pop it in. I usually twist the handle to make sure it's seated properly, and then you just close it. If you've got a Rigby or a Bliss or one of the other cutters, what you have to do is you have to get a wrench and you have to loosen the nut. You have to drop out the handle. It's a lot bigger process. So I was actually in a class at Sauter Village. Sharon Townsend was my teacher that year. And she says, I've got a cutter that I want to show you guys. It's something we're developing. It's not 100% perfect, but we're working on it. And when she said, this is how you change the blades, and she literally did this, picked up a different size and dropped it in. And see, I can do it almost without thinking when it's on my table. When it's in my hand loose, I've never done it like this before. And then you just flick it shut. That was like, I don't care what you charge for this machine, I want one. And that's basically the attitude I took. And I ordered it at the very first opportunity I had. You now go to Beeline. No, you don't go to Beeline because Beeline doesn't sell directly the way the Townsends did. Beeline has distributors, so you have to go to your favorite distributor. The problem is one distributor might not have any number, fill in the blank, cut size on their shelf, but maybe a different distributor does. And it's kind of like up to you to go out and find who that person is and to buy the cutter blade from them. I do caution you, some of my students have run into thinking they found, say, a number 3 cutter blade, and they order it, their credit card gets charged, and then they hear nothing. The websites aren't always sophisticated enough to know what the inventory is and to turn off and be marked as sold out when they're sold out. So what's happening is these people are taking orders, hoping that they can fulfill them from the other end. There have been rumors, I have not been able to confirm them, that they are not going to be making a number 3 blade. I know they discontinued the number 2 blade. The smaller cut sizes have to be more precise, and they need a more experienced person to make them, which kind of bothers me because I want my number 8 to be made by a very experienced person, right? I don't want an apprentice making my number 8. What I can recommend and what I helped a student with at Sauter Village, she saw an offering on eBay for the cutter with 3 heads. She wanted an 8 blade. It also had a 6 blade, and I think it had a 3. I told her her best bet was to go ahead and to buy that secondhand, because that number 3 blade, if the rumors are true that they are no longer making them, I just might have to sell my number 3 blade because I think the prices on the secondary market are going to go up on those. So if you can find a number 3, even if you don't hook with number 3s, it's something to have in your arsenal that you could trade for something or, however you want to handle it. Shortly after I bought my cutter, I actually opened the box at Cedar Lakes during a workshop. I begged the mercy of my class. I told them, this is killing me. This box got delivered to me today at Cedar Lakes by Pris Butler. She was teaching up in Michigan, which is where my order was delivered. I had no time to drive up to Michigan to get it. So the girls gave it to Pris, who was coming to Cedar Lakes next. So I got mine hand delivered that way, and it was killing me not to open this box. No one really knew what a Townsend cutter was at that time. So I opened it, and we all used it and had fun with it. After that, at every workshop, one of the things I would ask is how many of you are familiar with Townsend Cutters? The first time when I was opening my box, no one knew about it. The second year, there were 3 or 4 people. Granted, a couple of people were repeat students from the year before, but they raised their hands. And so the word was starting to get out. Then I changed the question to how many of you had bought it and regret buying it? Not a single person has ever raised their hand. I could sell my cutter, this one right here, for more than I paid for it. So it's holding its value. It's a good machine. Are there other ones out there? Yeah. And there's upsides and downsides to both of them. So, Kathy, unless you've got a particular cutter in mind that you want me to compare and contrast to the Beeline cutter, I'd be happy to point out the pros and cons. But the other thing too, I lost my train of thought. What was it? Oh, there's another cutter out there that looks almost like this. The cartridges have been said to be interchangeable. We've had a couple of issues, but it was mainly with one side of the equation and not the side I expected. But Larry Alt, who lives here in Ohio, about 2 hours from me, he is making cartridges and he is making a cutter, which is a little bit shorter on this dimension. I can't even show it. On this dimension here, this body dimension here is a little bit smaller on Larry Alt's version. And as a result, it's a little bit lighter. Okay. This thing does pack a punch. It is heavy. So, and the bag does not come with wheels, but I usually put it on top of my rolly bag that has my frame in it. So that eliminates the weight issue. Betty, what else can I tell you, or Kathy, what else can I tell you about cutters? Do you have any other questions? Or does anybody else have any other questions? Okay.
It's been interesting since Rug Cooking Buy and Sell. I have seen 3 Townsend cutters listed there in the last month and a half.
Oh, wow.
And there was one there was one yesterday, and she wanted $850 for it. Needless to say, it went quite quickly. Right. Which is amazing because I paid less than that for the cutter itself in blades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I paid less than that. So it's kind of like planting a tree. When's the best time to buy a cutter? 20 years ago or today? Right? It's not going to get any better. And with inflation and the inability to manufacture steel domestically, don't wait. I mean, if it's something you're thinking of, it is my prized possession. So those of you who know Trading Places, Trading Spaces, it's a interior design show. I don't remember what channel it was on, but one of my favorite designers was, now I'm going. He's the little round guy who always does country stuff. Oh, I had his name right on the tip of my tongue. But in any event, he also rug hooks. And I got to teach next to him in Texas one year. And we were having tornado warnings. And he said his plan, he was in a room by himself. And he always puts the do not disturb tag on the door because he's pretty much well known and he doesn't want anybody taking a souvenir, right?
So no one comes in during the week. So when the threat of tornadoes was happening, he pulled the mattress off the second bed in his room, lugged it into the bathroom because he heard that if you got into the bathtub and you pulled a mattress over you, you would be safe from tornadoes. The problem is he was on the 9th floor. So that doesn't work so much, right? The 9th floor is not the best place to be. But what he said, his plan was, and what he had in the bathtub ready and waiting for him was his wallet and his Townsend cutter. He didn't care about anything else. So I thought that was very telling from that point of view. So Kathy is saying, yeah?
I would tell Kathy, I've got the alt, and it works just fine.
Yeah, it's usually priced,
and it is cheaper,
slightly under. I just haven't communicated with Larry in probably since my knee surgery. So I don't know if he's still actively in business, but if you Google Alt, AULT, rug hooking, Ohio, that might be all you need. They're in Shelby, Ohio, and I don't think he has a storefront anymore. They used to, him and his wife. His wife's passed away. But I would, like I said, there's no time like the present. Get out there, get that. By far, in a way, in my opinion, that's the best cutter, mainly because of the technology. It doesn't use a friction blade like the others do. Okay, so she says, I took a class and the teacher talked about the importance of hooking with the wool on the right side. I didn't know there was a front and the back. And then she goes on to say, now I make myself turn the strip to the right side. Okay. You probably haven't heard me mention it in any of my free training. I've mentioned it many times inside the rug hooking journey. I don't teach using the right side or the wrong side of the wool because when that was important, that was back in the 70s and 80s. And so I'm guessing it was probably an older teacher or maybe someone who was taught by an older teacher. And their goal was to duplicate the look of manufactured rugs. That is no longer our goal. Our goal is to embrace the homemade look of it. We still professionally finish the edges. We still do a good job with color planning, design and composition, all that fun stuff. But we're not as obsessed about the right side or the wrong side of the strip. I have very poor eyesight, particularly up close. So I can't see it. So, in the one time someone called me on it, this was probably at least 20 years ago, and the woman had to get on her hands and knees and look at my Village of Pemberville rug up close, and then she would go, okay, this row is on the wrong side, this one's on the right side. Well, if you're looking at my rug that close and you're not enjoying it in its entirety, then yeah, you're going to see problems. And I don't care. Okay, it's all about how does that rug make you feel when you turn the corner and you get a look at it. That's what's important to me. So you've learned something, Betty, but now you have to do the ultimate decision, which is, do I follow that advice or do I throw it out the window? I throw it out the window. I do not look at it at all. Crystal is saying, do you need to remove your rug off the frame if you use linen or rug warp? If you use monk's cloth, absolutely, because you will stretch it out of shape and it'll stay out of shape and it'll be really hard to get it back in shape. Linen or rug warp, as long as you put it on your stretchers with the threads going side to side and up and down, you're probably okay leaving it on there. It's one of those publicly, Rug cooking teachers are going to say, remove the rug. What do we do privately? We leave it on the frame. Okay. It's one of those, it could take more time to put it back on, and that little bit of time that it takes to put your rug back on the frame, you might talk yourself out of actually sitting down and pulling 5 loops. Where if it's there and it's set up and you're actively using it. Now, if you're getting ready for knee replacement surgery, you are taking it off the frame because you're probably not going to be at it for a while. Okay? So if it's a long time, take it off. My room size rug would be when I'm working on it, like when I would go to Sauter Village to their hook-ins and I would work on that rug, it would be on that frame. It would stay there all night that way. And I would move it as I need to, but it had all that weight coming off the side and landing on the floor. It was fine. It was fine. The only thing I had to do for that was to take a 1/4 piece of plywood and screw up into the wooden feet of my stand to make the base bigger because its center of gravity was really bizarre. But now I don't need that, and I need to take that off because it's driving me crazy now. I need to take it off so it's smaller, so it's a little bit easier to put where it needs to go.
I don't leave mine on the frame too long, not because I'm worried about whether it's going to stretch, because I'm sure that I use rug warp and I don't worry about it a bit. But I pull it off because I throw it down on the floor to either get a better look at it, or I take a photo and then look at that a little bit later, make sure that it's kind of doing what I want it to do. So that's why mine comes off the frame more often.
That's a really good point. And if you get into the habit after you've been hooking for a bit, define a bit. Could be a half hour if you're struggling to find the time. Whenever you make any kind of progress, snap a photograph. And then I put that in Notion that evening. So it's on my Notion page for my rug. When we lived on Main Street in town in Pemberville, I didn't have really the room to lay it out. Everything downstairs was traffic pattern for the most part. And if it was upstairs, I didn't see it. So even if I was hooking upstairs in the studio up there, I would bring it downstairs, not my room size rug, but a normal size rug, right? And that was back when everybody had an armoire to put their TV in, right? And so the TV was up high, and below that was a really wide drawer. I would just open that drawer, flop the top of the rug in, and shut the drawer as far as it would go. And what would happen is now it's right in front of me. I'm sitting in my chair, and we're watching TV, but right below it is my rug. And it's getting darker and darker and darker as the evening goes on, right? So I'm seeing the rug in different lights. Back then, I didn't know that the reason things were blending so much was a value thing. I was always taught I needed a different color. You don't. You just need to make sure your values are right. So when I'm color planning, I concentrate on values. And that's a process I teach in the practical color planning for rug hookers if you want to do a deep dive into color planning. And that's got a bunch of methods that over the years, these are methods that I've used with students to help them understand how rug hooking works. And that's things as simple as creating a texture sampler, doing a value study, doing the pinch test. Well, the pinch test is when you put 2 pieces of wool that are folded once, so it looks like 2 loops, right? And then you pinch them. If you pinch them and you can't tell the difference, guess what? When you hook them, you're not going to be able to tell the difference either. So that saved me a ton of time. Those are the little tips that I've learned either from teachers that I took or things I figured out on my own using my art background. Those are tips that I figured out, and I've got them all together inside the practical color planing course.
It's a really good course on values.
Oh, thank you.
It's really good.
Yeah, I think it's on its third full iteration. And the last one, I took it really deep into values because color doesn't count. Color doesn't matter. You can take wool to a rug hooking workshop and have together a palette of things that will work, even if you don't know what pattern you're hooking. So it's all about creating your palette and then from there choosing which one's light, which one's dark. Color doesn't really matter. Okay. Thank you to those of you who have asked questions because you've saved my bacon. But I could use one more question. Does anybody else have a question? If you're on YouTube, you can put it in the live chat. If you're on a phone, you have to do something funky. I don't know if it's turn your phone up and down instead of sideways. You have to do something funky, but you can put things in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer your question tonight. If you are a member of the Rug Cooking Journey and you're joining me here in Zoom, you can unmute and ask a question or type it in if you don't want to ask it in with your voice.
That one for you, Cindy.
I'll take it.
I've got a pattern rolling around in my head still. It's not down on paper yet, but I want to do a pattern showing my daughter that we lost with her hand out. And because she was cremated, we have parting stones. And I'm going to put the parting stone in her hand. But my question is, do I want to make her figure just a generic figure or more looking like her? Any suggestions?
Okay, so think about her position on the rug. Are you going to be seeing her maybe from the back? Is she facing us? Is she a side view? A side view.
To the side view with her hand out.
Okay. So for the most part, when you're doing something like a side view, and I'm guessing her figure is probably no more than 12 inches. Or is it bigger?
Probably, maybe not even that tall. Haven't got that far on size yet.
Okay. When you make a full figure 12 inches, the head's like this big around, right? So not much is going to show up. So you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief that you don't have to hook it to make it look like her, but there's a lot you can do. So for instance, and let me change this to here. The one in particular that, in fact, I think I have it kind of drawn out here. This guy here, you can tell by looking, and I don't like his exact posture, and that has to do with the way I drew it. It looks like he's got his spine jacked sideways, but and that's because his head is too far over this way. It needs to come this way. But nonetheless, what I want you to look at is his tummy. Okay? Skinny or big tummy? He's got a big tummy, right? Yeah. I slimmed it down here. I didn't draw it the way he usually looks, right? But there's going to be long hair, short hair, the color of the hair. What is she wearing? Is she going to be wearing, like in the summertime, my uniform is a denim skirt and a t-shirt. So that's what someone would remember me as wearing. So if she's got like a uniform or something that she wears all the time, you would want to put her in that kind of clothes. And side view is is a little bit different, but there's just simple things. You know, like there's a jean leg with a pair of shoes. You don't even have to get descriptive on the pairs of shoes, right?
Right.
And then you're just going to have her bottom, a belt, her shirt. You know, there's going to be an arm. You said her arm is going to be out. There's her hand. I don't have enough room on the paper to draw that properly.
But that's okay. I'm
Right.
seeing the idea.
And then the hair, you know, does she have, you know, curly hair? You know, is it going to be hooked like that? I would hook it with yarn, you know, and you've got a nice yarn source there. So, you know, get some variation. And, you know, if she's a blonde, a bunch of yellows with some browns and hook it all squirrely. Hook what you see on top. When you're hooking hair, hook what you see on top first. And then once you get that filled in, just fill it in with what is usually a darker color, you know, the underneath color. But putting this kind of hair on this girl instead of long hair like this, you know, and did she wear glasses? You know, you might put glasses on there. Or does she always wear a belt? So then you can, you know, add the belt. Think about those things that you feel remembered by. And if you don't have a picture of her in that position, get a picture of somebody in that position. Okay? And then trace over that and then just add the details.
Okay.
And add the details that are unique to her. And chances are her face is going to be like almost nothing. They're going to be, you're probably going to end up hooking them the same way that I hooked the people on the Village of Pemberville, you know, where they're just an oval with a darker flesh color, where their eyes are a light flesh color, where the nose would be, and then everything's filled in with flesh. There's no dots for eyes. There's nothing. But you know they're people, and it doesn't feel that weird.
Okay.
And that's going to be your best
That
way.
gives me an idea of where to start.
Right. Yeah. Get that photo. What's going to be the biggest thing is going to be proportion. So if you get a picture of someone who is about her size, right? Because if it's a young person, if you're doing a 6-year-old, it's different than if you're doing a 20-year-old, right? So get someone who's about the size, relatively same size and shape, and you can change the hair, you can change the clothing, and just go at it from there.
Okay. I'll go to images and see what I can find.
Okay.
Because I did look for one of her standing to the side and I can't find it. So
Right. Yeah.
that's
Get a
why
picture.
I was trying to figure out where to go to do this. to start
Yeah,
it.
and that's particularly for memory rugs. That's where people will get really hung up. I can't find a picture of great grandpa mowing the lawn, but that's all he loved to do was to mow the lawn. So get the same kind of lawnmower or something, a picture of the old lawnmower, and then get somebody who's, pretending to hang on to it and walking with it, and take pictures, if you want a side view.
All right.
That's the
Thank
best
you.
way. Crystal is asking, what do you do for maintenance on your beeline cutters? Make sure they don't have lint and fuzz inside these rings. See the brass ring there? You can look, and if you see fuzz in there, you need to get that fuzz out. I would use like one of those dental floss things. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. You can buy them by the bazillions at Walmart, and we keep them. on our end tables in the living room in case we eat popcorn or something like that. We can take care of things. That's pretty much it. I've heard some people using spray air, but there is a residual liquid that comes out, and you might not want to do that. When in doubt, check with the manufacturer, see what they're currently recommending. I literally have done nothing other than making sure I don't have lint in there. I've done nothing else, and it works flawlessly. What does a Prati tool look like? There's a couple different kinds. There is a course or a lesson inside the basics course in the rug hooking journey that walks you through how to do Prati. There's two different ways. One looks like the bulb that you use for infants for sucking out their nose. It looks just like that. It's usually made out of wood. You work from the back and you have to push in both things. I don't like that. Okay. The one I prefer to use, which is super fast, is it looks like an old-fashioned curling iron, and it's got two pieces with a handle, and you push it into the backing and then back up, and then you open it up, feed it the piece of wool, and then pull it back out, and then your two pieces are right there. Super fast, but expensive. The third way would be to use a really big hook, maybe something like this little baby. This is a number 8, an 8mm Hartman style. This is not an actual Hartman hook. It's from that organization that was doing it for charity out of Australia. You can go down, pull up one end, and then go down and pull up the second end. I don't like that as much because it's twice. What I like about Prati, particularly if you're using the one that looks like the curling iron, you do it off your frame. So it's safe to do it in the car, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. But check out that lesson. If you remember the rug hooking journey, check out that lesson inside. Okay, I said it was in the basics course. It's not. It's in the Creative Stitches course, which is part of the membership. And Beverly, why did that get so small? Let's see if we can make that a little bit bigger. That's better. Let's see what I can go. She goes, I'm going to be hooking a photo of my husband's dog, a white West Highland Terrier with a medium length white coat. I know I have to dye different, very light colors of white wool, but I am unsure how to choose what colors to use. Very light gray, tan, blue, lavender, yellow. I guess it is somewhat like hooking snow in that you can't use just one color of white. I hope that makes sense. Yes. I don't do much with dyed wool. Particularly, I almost said in my later years. I'm not old enough to say in my later years. But recently, most of the stuff I've been hooking with have been textured wool. I will dye wool when I can't find the texture I want to use. Now, the white texture I use the most, of course, it's way up here. Let me grab a couple of them while I'm up here. And then maybe I can explain what's going on. So depending on how detailed you are hooking this guy, how big the dog is, hooking a white dog where he's this big is a lot different than hooking a white dog where his face is this big, okay, which would be bigger than normal probably. What you can use, this one is my absolute favorite white wool. I use it for everything. This is on my inventory list. It's W027. I think the vendor called it TNT on the old version. I don't remember what she calls it on the new version. I use this for white trim on a house. I use it for white markings in a dog or a cat. I use it for white picket fences. I use it for anything that I can think of that is white, which this wool is actually nowhere near white, right? If I hold up a piece of standard copy paper, this is much whiter than what this is. So when you try to go super, super white, and I've been contacted by people who have been looking for a super, super bright, the problem is it looks unnatural once it gets into the rug hooking arena. So this is about as white as I get, even with my realistic things. Then for shadowing, I would probably use this one now that I've got it down. This one would make a simple shadow on it. You're going to have to draw the pattern and then map out the pattern. Where's your areas of light, medium, and dark? How many darks do you need? How many mediums do you need? How many lights do you need? Sometimes you can keep it simple and all you need is 2. I particularly like these 2 together because they're the same kind of pattern, right? They've got these little ticky kind of a look to it. So when it's hooked, it looks like it's the same thing. So if I took this and put like a solid dyed wool with it, it's going to look weird. It's not going to look like it's the same thing. So it's important that it looks like the same thing. Depends on how colorful you want to get with the different colors used for shadow. Do you have a good photo? If you've got a really good photo, well, Beverly, you're here on the Zoom call.
I think I am. I've got a good photo. I've got somebody who is making it into a pattern for me. The head, it's going to be mostly head that you'll be able to see. It's just straight on in the front. So there's head and chest. And that's going to be 6 to 8 inches across. So
okay, so it's quite small. It's going to be small. So you're going to have to eliminate details, right? What cut size are you comfortable using?
Probably a 4 for most of
okay.
the fur, if you want to call it fur.
Right,
hair.
right. What I like about a texture is that one, my favorite cut size is a 7. One number 7 cut size can still look like hair. One hand-dyed wool will not look like hair. So texture is going to be your best bet. Sounds like you're dyeing this yourself. If you have some textures that you can use as the basis, I will often start with this and then dye darker colors if I need it, using the same wool. It's a trick I learned a long time ago. Things look more believable if whatever texture you're using, you use it throughout. Now, back in the day when wool was a little bit easier to get, I would use herringbone. I would use herringbone wool. And I had every value of brown, from warm brown to cool brown to grays. I could hook any animal I wanted. And they looked like everything belonged to the same animal because it had the same underlying pattern. Okay. I don't have much of that collection left. So I am resorting to using over-dyed wools, but I still try to over-dye over a texture, if that makes sense.
That's actually, I've got one that's very similar to that first
okay.
wool you were showing.
If that can be your main white, now look at the rest of the dog. What else do you need? Do you need, and shadows are usually cooler in color. So more blues, more purples. You can go to gray. I would not use yellow because it's going to look like the hairs have, spent too much time in the pool or whatever, and it's got that yellow cast to it. Unless that's something specific to that dog, then yeah, I would use it. But I like the cooler colors. Tan could be used as long as it's more of a taupe than a tan. A tan can be too warm. You want it to be cool. You want it to go back, right? Because if it's not white, it's a shadow on that particular dog.
Right. And I like the idea of using the texture. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And it's not all bad to hook whole areas with just the one texture. It works. You just need a slight amount of shadowing to give it the shape, and then you're good to go.
Well, I appreciate those suggestions. It's
okay.
I'll do a little experimenting before I actually start.
And it sounds like you've already got someone set up to draw your pattern, but I still recommend that you work with that photograph and do your own tracings. Okay. I often turn that into the pattern, but you'll just be using it more as value study. Figure out where those darks are. Put a piece of tracing paper. If you can't, the more you pay for tracing paper, the thinner and the more see-through it is. Okay. The cheap stuff at Walmart, just don't cut it. You got to go to an art store and you got to get some good tracing paper if you're going to use that. If not, this is the time of the year to go to Walmart and get that crystal clear plastic that's relatively thick that they put over windows. Like if you're in a rental or something like that and you're getting wind through your windows, you can put the plastic up over your windows. Anybody who grew up in the 70s and 80s like I did, there were systems for that. Okay, I had a repeatable system that you had a little plastic track that you pulled out. And then in the summertime, you just put it back in there and there was no plastic. And then in the winter, you put your plastic back up and you put it in that track. It was like a Ziploc bag. Sealed it up like a drum. That plastic is perfect for tracing, particularly with figuring out where the values are. And I would use something simple like a Sharpie marker. The most supply-wise that you might want to get, if you can find a silver Sharpie. They used to sell them at Walmart. I think they stopped selling them at my Walmart, but you can get them at any stationery store, just a regular silver Sharpie. It's the best gray, okay? So white is white, gray is medium, whatever that is, and then dark is going to be black. Can you put that plastic over a blown up version, blown up to the exact size you're going to be hooking it, and draw in those shadows? And then when you pick it up, can you still see the dog? Can you figure out what you're looking at without lines? It's just coloring in the shadows. If you can do that on paper, or in this case on plastic, then you can hook it. But even drawn by somebody else, you're still going to have to go through that study process. Because if you don't, you're going to do it by ripping out and rehooking and ripping out and rehooking, and it's going to take forever.
That's another good idea. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So we are at a little bit after 5 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. There was something that I wanted to tell you guys, and I wrote it down on a sheet of paper that I have since buried somewhere on my desk. Don't know what it was. No, here it is. So, just a reminder to members of the Rug Cooking Journey that you can get Pictorial Landscapes -design. I'm changing it from Design Your Own Landscape to Pictorial Basics -design. It's at 50% off, and it'll be that way for several weeks. And then on the 5th Tuesday of the month, October has 5 Tuesdays. On the 5th Tuesday of the month, I'll be inviting members of the practical color planning course for rug hookers and the virtual dye class. And on that 5th Tuesday, we do a special either dyeing or color planning kind of a lesson. I know I've got it on my calendar. So if you are a subscriber to my calendar, which you can find on the live events on howtorughook.com, subscribe to that calendar. And once I get topics kind of finalized, I put them in there so you can see what's coming up, and it'll integrate perfectly with your Google Calendar. When it gets too much, you can click it, turn the calendar off, and then just click it and turn it back on. And it'll be there when you need it. So that's it for today. I'm going to go ahead and finish broadcasting to YouTube. Those of you who are here on Zoom, stick with me for a minute. And I will see you all next time on the first Tuesday of whatever month it is. So I'll see you later.